For nearly 50 years, the DuPage Senior Citizens Council and Kane Senior Council have been dedicated to serving seniors in DuPage and Kane counties. Established in 1975, the DuPage Senior Citizens Council is a volunteer-driven 501c3 non-for-profit organization committed to helping older adults live with dignity. From providing nutritious meals to offering support services, the Kane Senior Council is there every step of the way. With programs designed to enhance independence and quality of life, they're proud to make a difference in the lives of their senior neighbors. To learn more or to volunteer, visit them at 418B Airport Road in Elgin or head to their website at caneseniorcouncil.org. Give them a call at 630-338-0999. That's 630-338-0999. That's the Kane Senior Council, caring for seniors because they deserve to live with dignity and respect. Visit caneseniorcouncil.org or call 630-338-0999 today.
It's time to wake up and get on the rise with all things Chicago sports. And your host, Mike Napolitano.
I'm Italian. I get yelled at all the time. This is normal for me. Are you kidding me?
I love it.
With the Italians, we get really high, we get really emotional, and then we bring it right back down. And I'm just in the right back down part right now.
Dalton Cooper.
I think this is the year. I think this is the year he throws for over 4,000 yards. I think Ben Johnson has an understanding of how to take a quarterback and elevate. We've seen what he's done with Jared Goff. Obviously, Jared Goff had gotten to a Super Bowl, and he was working with Sean McVay, but.
And Brandon Combs.
To tell me that a guy in Barry Bonds, who in 2004 has more hits and intentional walks than swings and misses. For a guy who watches Luis Robert and cheers him on, you're going to tell me Barry Bonds does not belong in the Hall of Fame? You are out of your mind, sir.
On WRMN 1410 AM, the voice of the Valley.
Welcome in, everyone, to another Saturday morning here at Studio 14. You're listening to AM 1410 WRMN. This is On the Rise with Brandon Combs zooming in. We have Dalton Cooper sitting to my left and Nick Johnston, as always, on the board. I am Mike Napolitano. Gentlemen, how you doing? Brandon, we'll send it back over to you because we've missed you.
Hey, man, I'm doing good. I'm excited the internet's working this week. I'm excited to see your guys' faces.
Somebody paid the bill. Good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been fun, man. It's been a good couple of weeks in sports. A lot of stuff with the Stanley Cup, NBA Finals going to a Game 7. We got all sorts of stuff to talk about, guys. I can't wait.
Yeah, this is going to be a jam-packed episode, so we'll get to the other two gentlemen here, but then we'll get right into it. Dalton, your week been good? You got
the first ever piece,
merch going
the first
on here.
piece of podcast merch ever.
All right.
So yeah, we had to do a little test drive, if you will. But feel free to check out fourthwall.com if you're ever trying to move any merch of your own. Can highly recommend. But yeah, no, been a good week. It's about to be really hot. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but it's literally going to be like 100 degrees the next 4 days. So I will be at the pool at the apartment for the next couple of days. But other than that, it's been great. And to Brandon's point, we got Game 7 tomorrow. So
yeah, well, that means the heat is really climbing, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. Nick, how's it going with you?
All good over here. Just excited for another day. Just ready to talk some sports. Glad the White Sox got a dub yesterday. Been some good wrestling on TV lately too, nice. So I'm excited. I'm ready to roll.
All right. Well, the White Sox were not really ready to roll this past week. A lot of L's in the column for this Sox team. Now, Brandon, we kind of went over a midweek last week for this White Sox team, kind of half and half, almost 500. You were in attendance for those two Kansas City games on the 7th and the 8th. It was a win and a loss, but then the White Sox went right into that next week just with L's in the columns. A sweep by the Texas Rangers on the road for the White Sox, at Globe Life Field, and then followed by a sweep from the St. Louis Cardinals. There were supposed to be 4 games in that series, but one was postponed due to the crazy rain that we've been having here in the Chicagoland area. So they only played 3, but that was enough for the White Sox as they lost 12-2, 5-4, and 8-6 in extra innings. The White Sox get a much-needed win as they go up to Toronto last night. A dominant dare I say, dominant, commanding win, but it's good to see this Sox team back in the win column.
Yeah, they finally won on the road. That's like their 8th road win of the season, I believe. So finally got it done. I think they scored those 7 runs in like the first 4 innings, which was nice.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just it's fun to see. And I think their preseason win total, I think in Vegas was like 52.5, give or take. And someone can fact check me on that. But if you took the over, or excuse me, 54.5, I've got it right here. If you took the over 54.5, man, it's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, the 7 runs were scored. You were right. Before the 4th, and in the first 3 innings, they jumped out to a 1-0 lead in the first, 3-0 by the second, and then 7-0 by the third. Of course, runs given up late in this one, but it was only 1, so they can lock down the win in this one. The frustration was mounting, though, as we saw just last week that Will Venable, White Sox manager, was ejected from a game as he was arguing with one of the home plate umpires. So that losing streak really caught up with the White Sox. In fact, that wasn't just any losing streak. That was, if I could do my math here this morning, 8 losses in a row, dating back to their last win against Houston on the road. It was a victory that was much needed. You talked about winning on the road. And this White Sox team hasn't done a whole lot of that. Brandon, what did you see at home from this White Sox team, and then going into this week with all those losses in the column?
Yeah, there was a lot of good pitching when they were at home, too. I'm not sure. It's hard to say because I don't think like it's a home and away thing. I mean, obviously, since they've been on the road, I just think they're facing good baseball teams right now. And I think that's been the difference. And the Sox are still playing good. They're not getting blown out in a lot of these games. They're still playing tight baseball games. They're still competing, which is what we expect from what we've seen from this year's White Sox team. So I just think that's what's going on right now. You're still getting the good pitching. You're still getting the competition from the lineup. You're still getting everything that you want to see from this team right now, because we know that this team it's not a team that's going to the playoffs. This is not a winning baseball team. We understand that, but they're still competing. They're still pitching well. They're still doing all the things that they need to do. Sometimes they've gotten let down by their bullpen a couple of times here on the road as well. The bullpen has not been very good, but that's been the case all season as well. So I think it's still par for the course. I just think they're not winning baseball games right now. They're not able to find it and put more runs on the board than the other team. So that's just where we're at right now with the White Sox.
Yeah, just the Rangers series was a gut punch. Three straight losses in there. You all lose by 1 run, or well, actually that first game 3-1 loss, but still kept it tight the entire time. And then, man, it was really that Cardinals series that was just, at least the doubleheader was more competitive than anything. But yeah, that was just really just exactly what you can see. What we're just on the, like I said, on the precipice of, like, if we just had one more power bat or one more just consistent bat out there. Like I said, it's what Brandon was saying. Pitching's still there.
100%. Yeah, because to your point, the power hitting too, they are second to the only team that hasn't scored more runs than them, or excuse me, the only team that scored less runs than them in the MLB is the Pirates. So as far as runs scored for the White Sox, they could definitely use that power bat, like Andrew Vaughn maybe. Now just
guy hits 1 grand slam in the minors and everyone goes crazy.
Yeah, no kidding. And speaking of putting up a lot of runs, a lot of numbers, we were just talking about how Shane Smith, in fact, it was also the Hall of Very Good. I'll give them a shout out, those accounts that have started to pop up there.
Love that account.
They were just praising Shane Smith for having an outstanding season. And then, of course, Tuesday night was a busy sports week. You and I, we were at the Sky game. It was also Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final, and we'll get into that. But right then and there was when I was seeing the tweets and the posts about how good Shane Smith is, and what happens is he comes out and gets absolutely shelled by the St. Louis Cardinals in that 12-2 loss, giving up 5 in that second inning. So, everybody has their tough nights, and that's some of that youthful inexperience that we were talking about from this White Sox team. But, typically it's the other way around, where Shane Smith can be pitching a lights-out game and not get the run support sometimes from this White Sox team. He's 3-4. He has a 2.85 ERA, 66 strikeouts, and a 1.22 whip. So still decent numbers on a struggling White Sox team that Brandon said, of course, we know is not poised to be a playoff contender.
One of the best changeups in the game, too, by the way. Opponents are hitting 143 against his changeup, and he's got around a 38% whiff rate on that bad boy. So
yeah, watching his overlays that'll pop up every now and again on my feed, those are just disgusting. I've said it before. When, as if you're throwing like a ball and it looks like a wiffle ball, it's just not fair. It's unhittable.
It's insane.
Yeah. So the White Sox will continue on the road in Toronto today at 2:07 p.m. That'll be Savali on the mound for the White Sox, as we just went over that trade last week, excuse me. Then it'll be the conclusion of this series on Sunday at 12:37. Then the White Sox come back home Monday through Wednesday to face the Arizona Diamondbacks. 6:40 p.m. starts on Monday and Tuesday, and a 1:10 start on Wednesday. Leading into the weekend series, that'll be the San Francisco Giants come to town, a 6:40 start Friday, 3:10 on Saturday, and 1:10 on Sunday. You can catch all of those games right here on AM 1410 WRMN, as we are your broadcasting home for 2025 Chicago White Sox baseball. But we've got even more baseball coming up for you, covering the Northsiders, as we usually allude to right here on AM 1410 WRMN's On the Rise.
Political party poopers got you down? Shake it off and join me, Dennis Sonar Green, every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m. on WRMN for A Political Talk Show, where we cut through the doom and gloom with a focus on America first, constitutional values, and a populist perspective that puts you, the citizen, at the center of the conversation. At WRMN, the talk of the town, we're not afraid to challenge the status quo and bring you the straight talk you need. Whether you're frustrated with the political establishment or looking for a clear, some nonsense analysis, this show has you covered. Tune in. Let's take on the issues together with a fresh, unfiltered approach. Catch us every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m. on WRMN, A Political Talk Show. WRMN, the talk of the town.
At Britain's Touchless Car Wash, they know life gets busy. That's why they're here 24/7 to keep your car looking spotless, fast, and easy. Their advanced brush-free wash technology delivers a sparkling clean without a single scratch, because they treat your car like it's their own. Here's the best part. Right now, you can get a free car wash just for joining their text club. It's simple. Just text BRITT to 30400, and your first wash is on them. Britain's Touchless Car Wash has two convenient locations, 1923 Larkin Avenue in Elgin and 555 Willow in West Dundee. They're proud to keep your car clean while giving back to our community. Text BRITT to 30400. That's BRITT to 30400. Now for your free car wash, and see why Britain's Touchless Car Wash is the fast, gentle, and reliable choice.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
If you build a relationship, then it becomes easier. If you build trust, it becomes easier. As a parent, you want what's best for your child. To give them the love that a child needs, it's probably the best thing you can do for a teenager.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. A message brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
For a little lighthearted lawlessness on Sunday afternoons, listen to Handle on the Law from 4 to 7 p.m. Handle on the Law is a unique combination of useful legal advice and outrageous handle remarks. Whether you're talking about Big Brother, big business, big legal problems, or Big Macs, you'll rarely find Bill without an opinion. His rapid-fire commentary gives listeners the information they crave in the way they crave it. It's Handle on the Law, Sunday afternoons from 4 to 7 p.m. right here on WRMN, AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
This is Larry Jones, and I'd like to talk to you about my bank, American Eagle Bank in South Elgin. Has your bank changed names in the last 10 years? Is your bank another faceless branch with headquarters in another city? Are you tired of earning next to nothing on your savings account or certificates of deposit, or does your personal banker treat you like a stranger? If you answered yes to any of those questions, then you're ready for a new banking experience, and American Eagle is the place for you. American Eagle is a locally owned independent bank that's rooted in the community. And American Eagle customers are greeted by name and treated with the respect that they deserve. American Eagle has an innovative program, Eagle Savings, that teaches your children to save while earning prizes and rewards. American Eagle offers great rates on certificates of deposit. My bank is located in South Elgin on Randall Road between the Target and Caputo's and is open Monday through Saturday. Give them a call at 847-742-7400 and a real person will answer the phone. American Eagle Bank, a place where you matter.
Welcome back to AM 1410 WRMN. You're listening to On the Rise. Myself, Mike Napolitano, alongside Dalton Cooper and Nick Johnson. Brandon Combs zooming in for this one. And we've got his team on the docket here. The Chicago Cubs have had a little bit better of a week than the Chicago White Sox, I'll just say. When we last left off, they were in a four-game series with the Pittsburgh Pirates at home. They had dropped that second game that Friday evening, but they picked things back up on Saturday and Sunday to take 3 out of 4 games from those Pirates. A 2-1 finish on Saturday and a 3-2 win in 10 innings on Sunday. So a little bit of free baseball for the Cubs fans. Tuesday through Thursday was a series at home against their northern rivals, the Milwaukee Brewers. Of course, though, like I was mentioning with the White Sox, they ran into some weather issues as well. So that second game on Wednesday with the Brewers was postponed. So only 2 games with the Brew Crew. A 5-3 victory on Tuesday, but an 8-7 loss on Thursday, followed by the opener in their home series against Seattle last night, a 9-4 loss. So it's been a little up and down for your Chicago Cubs there, Brandon.
Yeah, look, there's been a lot of issues with pitching right now. I think Colin Ray has, again, woken up and realized that he's Colin Ray. I think that Ben Brown needs to go back to the bullpen. I think that, there's a lot of things that the Cubs, and we knew this heading into the upcoming trade deadline, right? We knew that they need a frontline starter. We knew that they need a back end of the relief type guy. We know that they're going to need some help. They need Shota Imanaga to get healthy. I mean, that's just what it is. And once that happens, I think you're going to see a lot of things. I think Ben Brown probably goes to the bullpen. If not, Colin Ray goes to the bullpen. I do think that they're going to make a move soon, and I don't know if it's a Sandy Alcantara. I don't know if it's a big blockbuster trade. I don't know what is going on, but I do know that they're going to make a move. And Jed Hoyer said it on the broadcast on, I believe it was Tuesday. They brought him in and they asked him about it, and they asked him, whether or not they're in the market for pitching, and he said, "Yeah, we're absolutely in the market for a starting pitcher." And we're also in the market for relief pitching. So he recognizes that there's an issue, and he's going to get it. The other thing, too, is the bats have slowed down. They're not scoring the 7 runs per game like they were, prior. And you knew that wasn't sustainable throughout the entire course of a 162-game season. So, I don't know if it's so much a lull right now because, I mean, they're still playing good baseball. And, yesterday was another thing. I mean, the bullpen comes in. Ryan Presley, I'm done with that project. That project got to go away. Ryan Presley, I'm so done with him. 7 runs from the bullpen yesterday. Matthew Boyd's been phenomenal all season long. He almost died yesterday on the mound. He caught a ball that stopped him from dying on the mound, which was awesome.
Oh my gosh!
Self-preservation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so it's one of those where I Cubs fans, calm down. They're all right. It's still a 5.5 game division lead. You're still good. Calm down.
Yeah, well, the Cubs are sitting at 45-30, playing exactly 600 baseball, so not a whole lot to complain about, despite what we've just kind of gone over there. It's actually a 4.5 lead over the Brewers currently, but 24-14 at home. They're absolutely stellar at Wrigley. 21-16 on the road, a little bit shakier on the road. Their runs scored versus runs against kind of mirrors their 600 record. 401 runs scored for 300 runs against for a 101 run differential. So those big bats early on in the season and kind of within May and the start of June have really kind of propelled them to this point so that they can take this little bit of a lull. But they are on that 2-game losing streak and exactly 5-5 in their last 10, so an even 500.
I got it really quick. I'll throw it with you, Brandon, and then of course, obviously chime in with whoever wants to go after.
Can we?
Nick, it was go. Now we're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It gets stuck on the
mute button gets a little sticky over here sometimes. Quickly, just is there anyone on the Cubs that's untouchable besides PCA, Tucker, and probably Suzuki? Like, is there anyone on your mind that's completely off limits besides those three?
You know what? To be honest with you, I think other than PCA, and maybe Cade Horton, just because of his age, I think that those two might be the only untouchables, if you ask me. Just because, for one, I don't know that you're going to re-sign Tucker. I don't know that Tucker is going to get the 10-year deal, the $600 million from the Cubs. So if you're not going to trade him, and if he does warrant back, let's say the Oakland A's want to take a stab at 4 months of Kyle Tucker to sell some tickets, the 300 seats that they can fit over in Sacramento, right? Maybe you can get a Mason Miller in return. Maybe you can get Luis Severino in that package. Maybe you can get something for a Kyle Tucker. Now, look, don't go crazy. Don't be tweeting me. Want to, but don't go crazy. I'm not saying the Cubs should trade Kyle Tucker, but what I'm saying is that if it can get you a package that solidifies what you have, then sure. I mean, Kyle Tucker, he's been good this year. He hasn't been great. He hasn't been a $600 million player this year. He just hasn't been that. If you're telling me a $600 million player is a guy who hits 270 and who has does he even have 20 home runs yet?
Yeah.
So it's one of those where if you're going to pay this guy and you're going to keep him around for the long haul, sure. But I don't think the Cubs are going to do that. So I don't think he's untouchable. I don't think Seiya's untouchable. I don't think I think everybody
He's having a great year.
He is having a great year. He's
13 home runs for Kyle Tucker.
Yeah. But if you're also, again, that's the other thing that Cubs fans, and I've talked about this a lot, and people, I think fans have a hard time understanding the business aspect of the game, right? You still have a plethora of outfield talent sitting in your minor league system. So you either need to trade them and put them up as trade bait and do all of that, or you need to make room on the roster for them. Kevin Alcantara and Owen Casey are ready to be major leaguers. You need to bring them up at some point. You're going to have to do something with them. So you either need to trade them or you need to find a roster space for them. So if you're going out there and if you're making a trade that makes sense to trade Kyle Tucker, to trade Seiya Suzuki, to trade Ian Happ, if any of those names come up and it makes sense, I'm okay with doing it. There's only two names on the roster I wouldn't do it with, and that's PCA and Cade Horton.
And real quick before, just something to chew on too. Do the Cubs, if you're Jed Hoyer, do you go after Alcantara just to make sure that he doesn't end up in a Dodgers uniform, just for self-preservation, just to make sure that, hey, that's going to be probably one of the main teams we're going to have to compete against, we being the Cubs, to even go to a World Series? Do you fire some bullets at the Marlins just to make sure he doesn't end up in a different jersey that comes back to bite you in the rear end later?
I think I told Nick this yesterday when we were talking at the stadium. I said if I'm the Cubs, I'm going after either Alcantara or if you can find that he's available, and if it's Chris Sale, you go after those guys before the Dodgers wake up and realize that they also need a frontline starting pitcher.
Right.
So you have to do that, and you have to make that move relatively soon. I've said that for a couple weeks now. I think the Cubs have to be one of those teams that goes early. They have to be a San Francisco Giants that goes and gets Rafael Devers, before the trade deadline. You have to go and do one of those trades before these other teams like the Dodgers wake up and realize that they needed to and realize what they're willing to go. Because the Dodgers, they're probably in the National League that I could think of off the top of my head, the only team that can compete with the Cubs with what they can give up.
Yeah, no doubt. The Cubs continue with Seattle today at Wrigley and tomorrow, both 1:20 starts, followed by 6:45 p.m. starts in St. Louis Monday through Wednesday, but that's a 4-game series, so a 1:15 start on Thursday, as they then continue with their road trip next weekend into Houston to face the Astros, 7:10, 6:15 on Fox on Saturday night, and a 1:10 start next Sunday against those same Astros. We've got more baseball for you when we get back, a little bit closer to the Chicagoland area than that road trip for the Cubs. We've got Boomers and Cougars news, followed by a little bit of Sky, a little bit of Fire, a little bit of Stars, and then the whole second hour of this show is going to be dedicated to hockey and basketball with a lot of drafting coming up right here on AM 1410 WRMN. You're listening to On the Rise.
Here on WRMN AM 1410, we like to keep you informed and in tune to what's happening here in the Fox River Valley and what's going on here on WRMN. We recognize the importance of local radio to be a part of the conversation and to be a part of the community for the community.
You know, we talked about the importance of community theater, but supporting community radio is a big deal too. And, you know, for WRMN, this is a really cool thing that you guys do every day, and a really important thing. You have to have a local media outlet to talk about what's going on in your town. So you guys do a nice job.
Tune in to AM 1410 WRMN. Don't forget, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/WRMN Radio. Keep in tune and informed on what's happening here in the Fox River Valley, right here on WRMN. Are you dreaming of a getaway? Want to leave the stress of daily life behind? Whether it's a relaxing cruise or an adventurous land escape, planning the perfect vacation doesn't have to be a hassle. At Cruises International, they specialize in vacation destinations, land and sea, making your dreams come true. Located at 1721 Moon Lake Boulevard in Hoffman Estates, Cruises International isn't just about booking travel. They're your personal concierge, trusted travel advisor, and advocate. Your preferences are unique, and they'll take the time to understand exactly what you're looking for. From personalized service to their global network of specialists, they ensure that your vacation is tailor-made just for you. It's time to plan the vacation of a lifetime. Call 800-255-7447. That's 800-255-7447 today and speak to a cruise and vacation expert. Cruises International. It's time to set sail to your dream destination.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Listen this Sunday afternoon to Handle on the Law.
I know we're at an at-will date, but for making a comment, like, hey, your hair looks good. And then I got a call from HR saying, hey, you know what, you're under investigation. Do I have any recourse?
Were you fired?
No, not yet.
The problem, Eddie, is they can fire you for any reason they want. They literally can wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm a little bored this morning. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to fire Eddie for no reason. Yep, he can do that. Yeah, that's California. Yep, welcome.
It's Handle on the Law this Sunday afternoon from 4 to 7 right here on WRMN.
Do you own an annuity, either fixed rate, indexed, or variable? Are you paying high fees and getting low returns? If so, Annuity General would like you to have this free book to learn the pitfalls and mistakes of buying an annuity. The Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers contains the little-known truths about annuities, like how to help reduce your fees and increase retirement income. And it's free. That's right, free. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report just for calling. We researched over 1,000 annuities and summarized rates and benefits from financially strong insurers. You get Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today. Hurry, supplies are limited. Call now.
800-760-1845. 800-760-1845. 800-760-1845. That's 800-760-1845.
Welcome back to AM 1410 WRMN. You're listening to On the Rise. Myself, Mike Napolitano. Joined by Brandon Combs on Zoom and in studio by Dalton Cooper and Nick Johnston. Gentlemen, we've got some minor league news over this past week. The Boomers were facing off against a new team in the Mississippi Mud Monsters. And then the Cougars were at home for a little bit.
Got a couple of those myself the other day.
The Cougars were at home for a couple of games as well this past week. There was a giveaway, too. It was like a jersey vest, which was pretty cool for the fans. But when we take a look at this Boomers team, they went 2-1 against the Mud Monsters last week and a 4-0 win on Friday, followed by a 6-2 loss, and then an 11-3 win on Father's Day, giving all the dads something to talk about as they went home happy. And then on the road against the Gateway Grizzlies, 2 wins that would come on Wednesday and Thursday, but they did drop the opener against Gateway 13-10. That was a crazy series. 13-10 in the first game. Gateway takes that one. 17-10 in the second game as the Boomers take the win there, and then a 5-2 win to close things out. So finally the defense showed up, I think, in that series. Last night was a barn burner as well, as they'd say in hockey terms. The Boomers were still on the road, but a little bit closer to home as they took on the Windy City Thunderbolts at Ozinga Field. The Thunderbolts getting the last laugh in that one, a 12-7 victory. They will play those same Thunderbolts at Ozinga tonight at 6:05 p.m., followed by a 1 p.m. start back at home. That's Wintrust Field for the Schaumburg Boomers against those same Windy City Thunderbolts. So what you'll see, especially in this league, is when the Boomers play the Thunderbolts or the Joliet Slammers, they will have like 2 games at one ballpark, and then it's not too much of a commute to get to the other side of things, so they will go and play at the other ballpark. So this one has 2 games at Ozinga, 1 game at Wintrust. The Boomers will then have an off day on Monday, followed by, wouldn't you know, another local team that I just referenced, a 3-game set with Joliet, although all 3 of those games are in Joliet against the Slammers. 6:30 p.m. start times on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm hoping to be in attendance for the Thursday game. Go ahead and cover that one a little bit. Check out a new ballpark. I have not been down to Joliet, but I've heard all good things about their ballpark. So interested to see that one. And then a home series against the Washington Wild Things next weekend. That'll be the 27th, 28th, and 29th. So Boomers baseball ramping up for the summer.
Yeah, they're still leading the Frontier League, if I'm not mistaken, too. So they're playing pretty well, the Boomers.
Yeah, when we take a look at the standings for the Frontier League, you had the Boomers who were in first the last time we spoke. They are still in first now, 24-13, playing .649 baseball. Just like the Cubs, they're 5-5 in their last 10. But still a 2.5 game lead over those Gateway Grizzlies that they traded lots of offense with over this past week. The Windy City Thunderbolts bringing up the rear of the division, so hopefully the Boomers can take a couple more wins against them this weekend. And then when we look at the Joliet Slammers, they're smack dab in the middle of the division, 5 games back from the Boomers, 19-18, so just above 500 baseball. But those Washington Wild Things, that was the team that kept the Boomers from playoff hopes last year on the last day of the season. They're a tough team once again this year. They're 22-15, playing .595 baseball with a 3-game win streak. So it'll be a little bit of tough sledding going into next weekend for this Schaumburg team. When we look at the Kane County Cougars side of things, I don't think they haven't played the Dogs yet this year, have they?
Don't believe so, no.
That's a little weird because that is that Chicagoland rivalry.
They're so far away. Are we sure? I mean,
right. Yeah, I mean that's strange to me because there is such a rivalry there. But that'll happen fairly soon, I believe. Here, when we take a look at we'll take a look at the standings first. Here, though, the Chicago Dogs are sitting in second. 21-17, playing .553 baseball. The Kane County Cougars, 16-21, .432. They're 4.5 games back from the basically 3-way tie for the division lead here in the East. As Lake Country is 20-16, the Chicago Dogs and the Cleburne Railroaders are 21-17. So it is a tight race here in the East Division for the American Association. When we take a look at those Cougars themselves, They are on a 1-game losing streak. They're 4-6 in their last 10. They fell last night to the Lincoln Salt Dogs 17-7. Ouch. That kind of hurts. But it's been an up and down week for Kane County. As we talked about last week, I got a chance to interview a couple of them ahead of their ring giveaway ceremony. Well, it wasn't much of a ceremony. It was more so just the replica ring giveaway for the fans, but they were celebrating the fact that they are the defending champs. They did not play like they were the defending champs, however, as they fell in that game that was last weekend on Friday the 13th. They fell 7-4 to Sioux Falls before falling 13-1 and 10-6. So a sweep over the weekend for the Sioux Falls Canaries, and Kane County is not able to get any of the wins at home until their series with the Gary South Shore Railcats, a 3-1 victory on Wednesday. They were supposed to have another game. Actually, we were trying to go to those.
Oh yeah.
That was Thursday. So they were supposed to have a doubleheader on Wednesday. The doubleheader got postponed to a doubleheader on Thursday, and it's because of this crazy weather we've been having here in Chicago.
All kinds of rain.
So they did end up playing those 2 games against Gary on Thursday. A loss in the first game, 10-4, and an 11-4 win over the South Shore Railcats in the evening game. So up and down week for Independent League Baseball here in the Chicagoland area, but hopefully they'll get back to it fairly soon. Where did I want to go with this?
Sky,
we want to jump into some basketball here because that was where we were preoccupied with throughout the week. But then also we will be in attendance at the game today, myself and Dalton Cooper here. So the Sky, it hasn't been great sledding for them either here, as they are still struggling to find wins, still struggling to be a third quarter team, Dalton.
Yeah, they're 3-8 on the season. The third quarter is definitely, it seems to be a bugaboo for this team, unfortunately. They are unfortunately shooting a league low 37.9%, so 38% in the third quarter, and they're only averaging 18 points per third quarter this season through 11 games. I'm never going to sit here and like question anybody's job or anything like that, but it feels like a coaching reflection. It just feels like a lack of adjustments or a lack of adjusting to the adjustments that are being made by the opponents. It's obviously a learning curve, first year head coach, everything else, but that's where I would like to see this team improve. They definitely we got to see the ceiling of this team Tuesday night. They started out, they built a 16-point lead or a 15-point lead, I believe, against the Mystics.
Yes.
Both the bigs, Cardoso and Angel Reese, both finished with double-doubles in the game. They both played really well. The turnovers, they had, I believe, 9 as a team in the third quarter alone. I believe they finished with like 22 or 24, somewhere in that area. Hard to win games when you turn the basketball over that much. And a 20-4 run in the third quarter by the Mystics is just, that's a tough look. We saw that 16-point lead just go by so fast. So they're, like I said, we saw some positive, progression there in the first half. We saw what this team could be. It's just, can they put it all together for a whole, 40 to 48 minutes of basketball? We're going to find out, hopefully.
Yeah, and you said it. They got that lead completely erased from them in that third quarter. In fact, it was tied going into the fourth quarter. So it was anybody's ball game, and they really just didn't step up to the plate when it came to defending home court and actually, being that team that we saw in the first half. I mean, I don't know what the adjustment was. There were some questions asked to head coach Tyler Marsh in the presser about those adjustments. But this was a Commissioner's Cup game, and they had lost a previous Commissioner's Cup game to Atlanta, followed by a win over Connecticut. That was their third win in total on the season. But this one hurts not only in the stat column, but also in this little in-season tournament. So we were fortunate enough. I got a chance to ask head coach Tyler Marsh what he thought of the loss, being that it was a Commissioner's Cup game.
Coach Mike Napolitano, WRMN. Of course, every game is important, but this one is also a Commissioner's Cup game. Does the preparation or the strategy change going into this one, and does that loss hurt a little bit more?
No, I think when you're
3-7, now 3-8. I think you prepare for every game the same way, and I think every loss hurts the same way. And so it doesn't change anything for us in terms of our preparation. We'll go back to work. We'll watch the film. We'll correct areas. We're trying to correct areas where we see fit, and then we just try to get better and get ready for Phoenix.
I didn't realize that I was developing so much of a bald spot back there.
It creeps up on you.
But that flow is looking immaculate.
Yes,
no? Like,
100%. Yeah.
honestly.
Well, we gotta if we could just get you like to the front of your face to look like the back of your head with that mustache, I think we'll be good to go. I think. Wouldn't you say, Brandon?
That's fair.
Yeah, you just call LeBron James so you can borrow some of his spray paint.
Or John Cena. John Cena got a hair implant, if you recall correctly, too. So that, science is really catching up nowadays. If you're starting to get a little thin on top, I'm right there with you. Don't worry.
Listen, I didn't see John Cena on any billboards here in Chicago, so maybe I'll talk to Brian Urlacher first.
Duh hairs. Yeah, there you go.
Duh hairs, yeah. So as we mentioned, it was a rough week for this Sky team. We left off with an 88-70 loss last Friday, but then a win over Connecticut, 78-66 in a Commissioner's Cup game, but that 79-72 loss on Tuesday that we were in attendance for. They will continue this season today at noon against Phoenix at home. The Mercury come to town. That'll be on ABC and ESPN+. Then tomorrow in Atlanta to take on the Dream at 2. That'll be on ESPN3.
Ooh, they play back-to-back?
Back-to-back, and it's a home and away.
That's interesting.
And then Tuesday, the Sky will be back home against the Los Angeles Sparks, a 7 p.m. start time on NBA TV, followed by next Friday, they'll take on Golden State at 9 o'clock out west. That'll be on Ion Television. So that'll kind of conclude this week's women's basketball. We have more basketball for you coming up. We'll get to, of course, the NBA Finals as it is headed to a decisive, the two best words in sports, Game 7. And oh boy, I alluded to this last week.
Yeah, Grant's birthday.
Grant's birthday is going to be Game 7. So he's either going to be a very happy Oklahoma City Thunder fan or a very, very depressed birthday boy.
Nobody's won back-to-back games in this series yet, so...
Yeah, this is incredible. So I did not see, we can actually probably get into it right now. I didn't actually see this series going 7, especially after the news of Tyrese Halliburton, that he may or may not play in Game 6. He did end up getting about, I think, 22 minutes out on the court, but they were definitely kind of taking it easy with their superstar because of the injury, and I don't know.
It's a calf. It's got a calf problem.
Yeah, well, how 100% is he going to be for this Game 7? You're not going to be able to sit him out, right?
Well, I don't think it matters, really. I mean, they're a team effort. I mean, they don't really – I mean, Siakam is their leading scorer, obviously, but, like, Obi Toppin was their leading scorer in Game 6, which they dominated. He only scored 20 points. So, I mean, they've been doing it as a team effort. It's not been just one singular guy. Like I said, Siakam will get hot and score, 30, 35 points. But as far as, like – needing him to score or needing him to be a quote-unquote superstar, they just need him to be the facilitator, which he's really good at to begin with. So
if we were to single out one guy in particular, it'd be somebody coming off the bench. Is TJ McConnell the best bench player in the NBA? I mean, he had quite the Game 6, and it's not, I say it kind of surprisingly, but it's not, because we've seen him do this kind of stuff before. Last year in the Eastern Conference Finals in Game 4 against the Boston Celtics. And, of course, Pacers are down 3-0 in the series, but backs up against the wall, and this guy is still performing. Your guys' thoughts on TJ's performance?
Definitely been the
Game
spark
6?
plug. Definitely been the spark plug. He comes off the bench, and at one time, he was like 15 points in 15 minutes. I forgot what game that was in particular, but yeah, he's having a lot of fun out there, and his dad took over the NBA TV interview the other day. Came out of nowhere, and then the guy's like, "Yeah, come on in."
Yeah.
And again, stole the show. Spoke greatly of his son, of course.
Right.
So he had it pretty well. And then I love my favorite part of that interview. He said "we." He's using we. So Dad's out there. He's like, "Yeah, we did this and we did that." So it's classic. It never leaves that same thing. Well, yeah, exactly that. TJ McConnell's been the spark plug. If anyone's got to step up, it's got to be Miles Turner. It's got to be Miles
100%.
Turner. He has just not had
100%.
a game at all this entire series. So again, with basically, I know the power of friendship at this point for the Pacers, putting together all these wins, but it's because they have 6 or 7 different players get 14, 15, 18. Obi Toppin's dropping 20. Then exactly that. TJ McConnell comes off the bench and has 15 or 17 and just efficient scoring. So it's really nice. So I don't know, with OKC coming out in this last game, act as if they just they acted like they just if they didn't win. Like,
they quit at halftime.
They just acted like hey, we're one win away from actually winning this title. Like we could do this. They just came out flat.
You talk about teams that are not a third quarter team, and we hadn't seen that from this Thunder team. They've been dominant all playoffs and all regular season, but 17 points in the second quarter, and you'd think you'd come back out in a possible clinching game in quarter number 3 and post some numbers. No, 18 points. They did score 31 in the fourth quarter, but at that point, the Pacers had just gotten on them too much. I mean, you talk about those numbers. There is a major drop-off for Miles Turner. I mean, you have Pascal Siakam, who has 16 points. You got a lot of production from Andrew Nembhard, too, with 17. Tyrese Halliburton, of course, with the injury, not his usual self, but still 14 points from him. Nesmith had 10, but Miles Turner, 3. What a drop-off. And then we talked about that bench. You mentioned Obi Toppin with 20. And even though TJ McConnell only had 12, I mean, he was a factor elsewhere. He had 9 rebounds and 6 assists. So, I mean, honestly, Obi Toppin was up there as well with his 6 rebounds. But you talk about the assist game. I mean, those two coming off the bench was dominant. And honestly, he'd like to see them out there more than Miles Turner. Yeah.
Brandon, did you know that TJ McConnell was leading the Pacers in rebounds at halftime, and this man is 6'1"? He was leading the team in rebounds at halftime with 6, and he is like the shortest dude out there.
They get production in some of the most random places that I've ever seen from any team in the history of the NBA. They're scoring. I told you guys this earlier in the series. They can score at will. I think we were talking during game 1. We were pre-recording our show.
Yes.
This team is ridiculous. And I believe that Mike had asked me a question because they were down 92-74. And you're like, so do you think that the Pacers are going to get swept? And I was like, no, I don't think they're going to get swept. I said, but they can score at will. So this team's never out of it. And then by the time that we had gotten off the air, the Pacers had already tied the game, and then they came back and won that game. This team is ridiculous. And then not only that, but then when you go into game 6 and they're getting in their little prayer circle before the game, and nobody knew that Siakam was going to get possessed by
literally
the Lord.
Yes.
And just be able to do the things that he was able to do in that game in game 6. All they need is for that to happen again. They're going to win game 7. I love this Pacers team, man. And if they win game 7, this is the biggest upset in NBA history.
Wow. Yeah,
I guess it would be. By betting standpoint, yeah, you're probably right. They're minus 750, the Thunder, when the series started.
To open the series, yeah.
I think it's the longest shot of any professional sports team, or maybe the second longest, because they were plus 6, or they were 66-1, I believe, at the beginning of the season. And I'm not recalling what it was at the beginning of the postseason, but I think it was right around that number.
Just a slap in the face to the Pacers too, right? Because people are acting like this Pacers team, since I know they weren't very good heading into December, but since Christmas, they had the second best record behind OKC. So this team, it's not like they were bad coming into this series. And the things that they had done, taking care of teams on the road, the way that they are playing ball, for them to be that big of an underdog, I just hope they win game 7 because I want to win my bet.
Nice. Yeah, when I had asked you that question, I was kind of in hopes that you would kind of agree with me that it wasn't going to be a sweep, because nobody likes to see a sweep in a finals, right? You want to see both teams be competitive. My thought process, though, with how much of a juggernaut this Thunder team has been, and we've used that word multiple times to describe them, because it's just it encapsulates what this team has done this year, 68-14 throughout the season. I thought maybe gentleman's sweep. I thought maybe this goes 6. And especially when you heard the news about Tyrese Halliburton being out, of course, Pacers are going to want to defend home court. But how realistic is that against a Thunder team that has a chance to shut the door on you? And they came out and they defended home court. It'll be now, can they go back into Paycom Center and get another win there? That's always been super tough. But it hasn't really mattered who the home team is. As Dalton was saying, it's gone every other in this series. No team has won 2 games in a row. So tomorrow night will be a 7 p.m. tip-off on ABC at the Paycom Center in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
It's the first Game 7, by the way, in 9 years. We haven't had one since the LeBron and Golden State one.
Yeah.
So,
and people were making the same comparison. So to take down a big stacked team like Oklahoma City Thunder, you need to have the same build as the Cavaliers. So you need to do it all forward like LeBron James. That's Pascal Siakam. You need a very elusive guard, just like Kyrie Irving. That would be Tyrese Halliburton. You need a Smith. We have Aaron Naismith.
Nice.
I forgot how. There was another way that somebody that got factored in, but you need a Matthew Dellavedova. We got TJ McConnell. So
there it is.
All set, ready to go on that side of things.
Well, I know I don't want to get too ahead of myself here because there is one and only game remaining in the NBA season. That's Game 7, like we said, tomorrow. But that is the last game of the season, and then we have to think off-season, and the gears kind of shift a little bit. For us here in Chicago, that means draft season is right around the corner, and actually the draft itself is right around the corner on the 25th. The Bulls have the 12th overall pick. Kind of hard to really evaluate who is going to be there at 12. I haven't really heard too many names thrown out there. It's too deep into this draft, and I don't think this draft is all that deep in and of itself. But have you guys heard anything about any particular Bulls prospecting?
It'd be pretty cool if Cooper Flag was there, though.
Yeah, that would be.
That'd be really cool.
That'd be really nice, but I don't think that's going to be the real the reality of it. Brandon, have you heard any rumblings on any rumors that the Bulls might be in talks with any camps?
No, they're gonna draft somebody from Europe that we've never heard of and hope that he's good. I mean, it's just that kind of what the Bulls do. Look, outside of the top 3 in this draft, it's kind of like pretty much every NBA draft. Outside of the top 3, you just kind of hope that you strike something, right? And you hope that there's something there that you can find and develop. That's going to be the big key. Guys like myself and Nick are going to be able to see a lot of whoever they draft over at the Windy City Bulls this coming season. Well, that's for certain.
Yeah, when we had Kendall Gill on the show a couple months ago, he was saying that he didn't believe that there was a glorified number 1 in this draft as there has been. He wasn't super high on Cooper Flag. He thought the Bulls have a Cooper Flag already in Matas Buzelis, and I know, once again, that's a name that I don't think too many fans were familiar with before he was drafted to the Bulls last year, but you saw how he played, and I think he's going to be a very good player, but there's not a whole lot of names that wow me in this draft.
In terms of like getting a consensus, I pull up 3 different mock drafts, and they all have 3 different names for the Bulls.
Yeah,
so
nice.
It's going to be all up in the air. It's going to be definitely a
so nobody knows what's going on.
Nobody knows. So it's just definitely going to be like obviously best available at that time, whoever they deem best available. Because I see Asa Newell on the NBADraft.net for the win has. Oh my goodness! I think you were right, Brandon. They're just going to pick someone from the European pool. Kasparas Jokšunias. Just don't spill any on me. And then Igor Demin. Yeah, and then Igor Demin is what I'm saying from CBS. So like I said, 3 different mock drafts have 3 different names, all for the Bulls.
Those all sound like Hall of Famers, if you ask me, though. All Hall of Fame names.
Goodness, I hope so.
Yeah. So when we talk next week, when we talk about who the Bulls picked, it'll be like when we talk Boomers and when we talk everything else. We'll be talking about somebody we have no clue who we're
throwing names up and see what sticks.
I know a little bit about independent baseball here, so but you're right. When it comes to whoever they draft, you might be right. It might just be best available. It might also just be whatever fills the needs of this Bulls team, and we'll have something to go off of next week there. So we're going to shift gears to the other team that plays at the United Center. The Chicago Blackhawks have a draft coming up. We're going to have Jack Heinrich of WGN joining us in just a moment, followed by the Chicago Hockey Radio gentlemen to talk Blackhawks draft, the Stanley Cup final wrapping up, and oh boy, Connor McDavid, yikes. And then, of course, the big news here in Chicago, the reason I'm wearing this shirt, Jonathan Toews is back in the league. We'll get into all of that and more right here on AM 1410 WRMN. I'm Mike Napolitano. On Zoom is Brandon Combs, and in the studio, Dalton Cooper and Nick Johnson. You're listening to On the Rise.
Are you dreaming of a getaway? Want to leave the stress of daily life behind? Whether it's a relaxing cruise or an adventurous land escape, planning the perfect vacation doesn't have to be a hassle. At Cruises International, they specialize in vacation destinations, land and sea, making your dreams come true. Located at 1721 Moon Lake Boulevard in Hoffman Estates, Cruises International isn't just about booking travel. They're your personal concierge, trusted travel advisor, and advocate. Your preferences are unique, and they'll take the time to understand exactly what you're looking for. From personalized service to their global network of specialists, they ensure that your vacation is tailor-made just for you. It's time to plan the vacation of a lifetime. Call 800-255-7447. That's 800-255-7447 today and speak to a cruise and vacation expert. Cruises International. It's time to set sail to your dream destination.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410, Elgin time, 9 o'clock.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Israel's military says it struck an Iranian nuclear research facility today. It also killed 3 senior Iranian commanders in targeted attacks, while emphasizing it was preparing for the possibility its war with Iran could turn into a lengthy battle, even though many international observers say Israel is in a good position now that it has dismantled Iran's proxies like Hezbollah and Hamas, as well as the Houthi rebels, in such a way that they will not be attacked from all sides, but they can focus now on Iran. Global isolation is causing quite a price in Russia. That's what the country's own economy minister says. The Russian economy is on the brink of going into recession.
Economy Minister Maxim Reshetnikov delivered the warning at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, designed to highlight the country's economic prowess and court foreign investors. Russian business news outlet RBC quoted the official as saying, "The numbers indicate cooling, but all our numbers are like a rear-view mirror. Judging by the way businesses currently feel, we're already, it seems to me, on the brink of a recession." Economists have warned of mounting pressure on the Russian economy due to lack of investment in sectors other than the military. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Former Trump economic advisor Stephen Moore gives a thumbs up to Senate changes to the House version of the big, beautiful bill.
Overall, I give it a B+. I think it's a good bill. I think it improves on the House bill.
Researchers at the cybersecurity outlet Cybernews say billions of login credentials have now been leaked and compiled into data sets online.
It could be the biggest data breach in history.
That is Kelvin Chan, who reports a breach gives criminals unprecedented access.
Reports say that login credentials for Facebook, Apple, and Google are among those that have been leaked. But there's a lot that's still unconfirmed.
Eddie says consumers need to take precautions. More from townhall.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group, and I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney, and the truth is I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare, and I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare or you'll pay nothing. Attorneys, this was meant to be funny, so please don't sue me, especially my friend Kenneth from Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-613-5454. 800-613-5454. 800-613-5454.
Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil has been released from federal immigration detention.
The former Columbia University graduate student left a federal facility in Louisiana on Friday. Khalil was released after a federal judge ruled the government could not keep him detained. The Trump administration plans to appeal the release. The government says Khalil must be expelled from the country because his presence could harm American foreign policy.
That is correspondent Ken Lorman. Canada's prime minister said Thursday he may impose new tariffs on U.S. steel and aluminum, depending how talks go with President Trump.
President Trump and I agreed to pursue negotiations towards a deal within the coming 30 days. We'll continue these negotiations, of course, in good faith.
And Prime Minister Carney's comments came to us courtesy of CTV. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. South Africa will begin a new inquiry into the killings of 4 anti-apartheid activists 40 years ago.
A new judge-led inquiry into the killings of the anti-apartheid activists who became known as the Craddock Four and who became a rallying cry for those denied justice is opening this month. Part of a renewed push in South Africa for the truth by relatives of some of the thousands of people killed by police and others during...
British lawmakers have backed a bill to allow terminally ill adults in England and Wales to choose to end their lives, and that is making that a very real possibility now in that country as a result.
Britain, the proposed law would be on the more restrictive side of the international spectrum, allowing only those with a terminal diagnosis of 6 months or less to choose having help to die.
And that is BBC's Rob Watson reporting 2 people have died following a horrific rock slide at Canada's Banff National Park. The first body was recovered shortly after the event on Thursday, another yesterday. More from townhall.com.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-433-3082. 800-433-3082. 800-433-3082. That's 800-433-3082.
Welcome back to AM 1410 WRMN. You're listening to On the Rise. Myself, Mike Napolitano, alongside in the studio with Dalton Cooper and Nick Johnston. Joining us over Zoom is Brandon Combs. And joining us over the phone line, a very exceptional guest we have with us today. He's one of the sharpest voices in Chicago sports media. He is a reporter and a producer for WGN. He's also done some time with the Chicago Dogs organization, as many of us here have, as he is, just like the other 4 of us, an Illinois Media School graduate. He's got insightful analysis, behind-the-scenes coverage, and a deep passion for the game, especially when he is at the United Center breaking down the Chicago Blackhawks with WGN. This is Jack Heinrich. Welcome, Jack, to the show, and we are so happy to have you.
Oh, God, please.
Uh-oh.
There we go.
There we go. Got him?
Should be.
Hey, Jack, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, good.
Jack, we have a very important draft for this Chicago Blackhawks team coming up. They're picking 3rd overall. Not quite where I think Blackhawks fans wanted to be, given the tough season. They were hoping for that, of course, 2nd overall spot and to not drop down into 3rd. But now that raises a lot of questions as to who the Chicago Blackhawks are going to be drafting here at number 3, who is going to still be on the table. What have you seen? A couple different names thrown out there, and what do you like for this Blackhawks team?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It is an important draft for the Hawks, but it's interesting. I think it's pretty open this year. I think the last few years with Connor Bedard and then last year with Macklin Celebrini, you kind of had a few of those top elite prospects. This year it feels pretty spread out. I think Matthew Schaefer's probably the top guy, and he's going to go number 1. It seems like Michael Misa's going number 2, but as the draft gets closer, I guess there's some rumblings that I've seen on social media that the San Jose Sharks like Caleb Deswaier as well. So, I mean, that would probably be the dream scenario for the Hawks if Michael Misa falls to 2 or falls to 3 and doesn't go at 2. But I think for the second straight year, we saw it last year with the Hawks picking 2nd. The draft kind of started with them between Artem Levshunov and Ivan Demidov, and they went Levshunov, obviously. It's interesting because I think a lot of the fans see the more well-known names like Porter Martone and James Higgins, but a lot of the reporting's been Anton Frondell and Caleb Deswaier. I think Frondell's probably the guy that they're more leaning towards. It seems like a lot of the mock drafts have Frondell there. I mean, he fits what they're trying to do. He's a little bigger center, has a really big shot, good offensive upside. He has some defensive upside as well. I know a lot of Hawks fans want Martone, and he's a good player, and he said some really good things about the Hawks at the Combine. But I don't think his skating ability fits with what they want. And I know it's what a lot of fans want. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I know the Stanley Cup just ended, but the Hawks haven't played in a few months, and this draft process is getting so drawn out. And I think everyone's just ready for the draft to happen and see what they finally decide to do.
Yeah, 100%. I think, speaking to Blackhawks Nation, I think it's just the size that we'd like to see on this team. I think, Martone definitely brings that too. But I did have a different question for you, Jack. I've seen a lot of rumors from some very accredited people that the Blackhawks might be openly shopping that number 3 overall pick. In your professional opinion, do you think that's the right move? I mean, if you do see them moving that 3rd pick, do you see maybe like a 2-for-1 or maybe an extra first in next year's draft, just because we know the top end talent is probably a little more tout or a little more deeper in next year's draft? What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a lot of options. I mean, I think they have 8 guys on their roster at the end of the year that were first-round picks in like the last 4 or 5 years. So they have so many first-round picks, and they have 2 this year. I think they have 2 or 3 next year, and they have 3 second-round picks the next few years. So they have so many picks, in my opinion. I think they have ammo to maybe trade for a younger type player that might not want to be or having trouble extending. I know J.J. Patrica has been floated out there from Buffalo. I don't know how likely that is. I think some local reporters said they're probably not going to do that. But I do think it's an option on the table, and I think it's something they should explore, because they have all these picks, and they're not going to have enough room in Rockford once these guys start coming up. And you want to give some of these young guys runway to play in Rockford and with the Hawks at the NHL level. So I think at some point Kyle Davidson's going to try to trade, whether it's this year or next year, or maybe he's got some trick up his sleeve. But I have seen those reports that they might be looking to shop that, and who knows? I mean, it could be a crazy draft this year. I mean, this is the first year in a long time that it's decentralized, so all the teams are going to be at their own war rooms instead of being at the draft. So that could maybe make some things happen, because in past years when they've all been at the draft site, like when Connor Bedard was drafted in Nashville, all the teams are there on the floor at the arena they're at. So if you see a GM or someone from a table get up and go, you can go over to another table. Yeah. You can see, those guys are talking. Now it's a little more secluded and secret, so maybe Kyle Davidson's cooking something up. But long way of answering, I do think it's something they should explore, because you have all this ammo and you keep drafting all these guys, but maybe at some point you could gather up some picks and get a younger, established NHL player to add to the team right now.
Yeah, Jack, look, there are guys like Matthew Schaefer out there who I would love if he was able to fall down to 3. Now, you know me, we've talked a bunch of times about the Blackhawks and how I feel like they need to bolster up the defense, right? Not a whole lot of defense depth available at the top of this draft. Do you think that this is something that they address in free agency, or do you think that they're okay with what they have right now defensively?
I think they're okay with what they have right now. I think that's what they think too. Just because of the development of Sam Renzel, you're adding him with Alex Vlasic. You have Artem Levshunov, and I was talking with some guys at the station. If Artem Levshunov is like your 3rd defenseman, I think you're doing pretty well. You still have Kevin Korchinski, who spent a lot of time down in Rockford. So I could see them, especially like you said in this draft. I mean, it's really Matthew Schaefer, and then after that, not a lot of defensive prospects at the top of the draft. So I think they like where their young D-core is right now. And I think they want to have an opportunity for Kevin Korchinski to play, because they're getting to the point in the rebuild where, yes, they want to be better in the wins and loss column and the point column, but I think they want to have like Kevin Korchinski and Levshunov and Renzel and Vlasic all have this year together of NHL experience to see kind of what they have in those guys, and then when they're taking that next step, they can try to they know what they have because they've played them at the NHL level instead of trying to project if someone's bouncing back and forth. So I think they're okay with where they're at right now. They got some really good young guys, and I mean, we've seen other young guys like Nolan Allen come up and have a solid year as well. So they have a lot of young guys. I think at one point, I think the oldest guy was Alex Vlasic, and he's like 23 at one point in the season due to all the injuries. So I think they're going to let those young guys go and see what they have at least for this year. And maybe they sign a veteran in free agency just to give them some leadership, but probably not a draft target. I think they're going to be looking more for offense.
Jack,
so with the remaining cap space, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. With the remaining cap space that they have, I believe they have like $25 million in cap space. Are guys like Mitchell Marner a pipe dream for the Blackhawks? I heard his name thrown around a lot. Are they going to go out and try to help Connor Bedard with some veteran talent to win now, or is this still going to be a building process? Are we still going to be waiting 2 or 3 years before we see the Blackhawks make a playoff push?
Yeah, I think it's still going to be a building process just based on what I've seen. I think some of Mitch Marner's comments too is like he wants to go to a winner now, and the Hawks could probably offer him the most money and maybe even the most years as well. But they do have that flexibility. But it seemed like in the regular season there were some rumblings like, maybe they could go after him. Mikko Rantanen was going to be a free agent until he signed with Dallas. So I think now that we've gone to the off season, it's probably more of a pipe dream. I don't know if they're going to get super aggressive all of a sudden, but I guess a young team, one thing I saw is a young team, you don't want to have that big contract before you're contending, but it would be really nice. He would fit really well with Connor Bedard, and he's a really good player, but if he wants to win now, I still think the Hawks maybe will be another year or two away from trying to get back into the playoffs. I know it's been a long wait, but it seems like that's what they're going to be doing this offseason.
Yeah, Jack, I mean, we've kind of touched upon everything. And the Blackhawks, despite how we said that they dropped to third in the draft here when many were hoping for that second overall or even the first overall spot again, I think they're sitting in a good spot, we'd probably say, with all the assets. We talked about the defensive core. There's been talks of even moving like a Kevin Korchinski because there's so much defensive depth here, but then also moving the third overall pick, like Dalton was saying. Maybe even moving that 25th overall pick that they acquired from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Maybe making a big splash in free agency with somebody like a Mitch Marner, because those guys don't often hit the market like that. And, you see what just happened in the Cup Finals with Edmonton, and now even more questions get raised. I mean, I think that would be even more so of a pipe dream. But the one thing I think you're not giving up is your first-round pick for 2026, because it is a lottery ticket for Gavin McKenna. Now, can the Blackhawks and their fan base take it one more year being, as high of a lottery team and having, that would mean such poor results unless they make a giant jump like the Islanders this year? Or do you even think about shipping over that pick because you want to be a little bit more competitive now?
Yeah, no, I mean, those are all good points. I think they'd probably try to keep their own first-round pick. Like you said, I mean, next year's draft class with Gavin McKenna, that would be pretty cool with him and Connor Bedard.
Cousins.
But yeah, Cousins. That's right. So that would be nice if they could figure out a way to get him on the team. But I do think they'd probably like to keep that pick, and because you never know. Because this year they wanted to. You could hear it in the press conference after the end of last season, not this past season. But Kyle Davidson's like, we want to improve next year, and you're going to see that improvement in the standings. And that didn't happen, and I think that's part of the reason why Luke Richardson got fired. And they were hoping to be better, I don't think they were hoping to be playoff good, but I think they were hoping to be out of, the bottom 3, bottom 5, get around, 10th, the 9th, 10th, 11th pick. So I think they'll probably keep it unless something unexpected that we have no idea comes out and some player comes out and is available, they want them. But I do agree with you. I think they should try to keep that pick because, you never know what could happen. The Islanders didn't have a GM. They finished in the teens, around the 10th pick or whatever, 10th, 11th, and all of a sudden they shoot up and they have the number 1 overall pick. So you never know what can happen. So I think they should stand pat with it unless something unexpected comes up.
Yeah, 100%. And you kind of spoke to it there with firing the head coach. My next question for you, Jack, was just the expectation on Jeff Blashill. Do you think he's the perfect fit for that developmental team or that developmental core of players that you're speaking to or that we're speaking to in general, or just kind of the expectation on your end that you'd like to see from Jeff Blashill this first year as Hawks head coach?
Yeah, he was really impressive in his an introductory press conference, really direct. Seemed like he has a really good plan. He has a good staff. He's keeping Anders Sorensen on, who's done really good in Rockford, developing players. Most recently, Alex Vlasic going up and down, and then finding his footing in the NHL. So I do think it's a good fit for where the Hawks are right now. He has that background in junior and in college and in the AHL. He's done very well. I know his Detroit stint wasn't very good, but that was following a Hall of Fame head coach or a legendary head coach, and he still made it out 7 years, and they kind of went into a rebuild, so he was trying to guide them through that. But it is nice, and this is something Charlie Meliodas was talking about, is that he didn't get an NHL job right away, a head coaching job right away. Instead, he was an assistant in Tampa with John Cooper, and that's a pretty good coach to learn from the last 3 years and learning from a winning culture down there in Tampa. So I think he's a good fit right now. Will he be the guy that leads them in the playoffs and in the Stanley Cup final? I think that's still out. We'll see if that happens, but he has a very direct plan. He knows how to develop young players. When he was asked about helping Connor Bedard and all the young guys, he had steps, and he's like, I've seen how this works. I've seen how this works with this star in Tampa or Detroit. So I do like the hire for where the Hawks are at right now. It seems like he deserves a second chance. He's learned under some really good coaches, and who knows? I mean, he was kind of not like the sexiest name out there for Hawks fans when he came out, but sometimes those guys turn into the really good head coaches under the radar ones. So hopefully that works out, and we see more of the production on the ice instead of just like, oh, you can kind of look at this and see this and project this. Hopefully we see Connor Bedard take that next step. Frank Nazar continue his great into the season and then on the world stage as well with Team USA. So
100%.
That's the big thing, is just looking at those young guys and how they develop. So I think he's good for the Hawks in developing these young guys, and then we'll kind of see where the future takes them.
Yeah, the Rockford Ice Hogs getting a brand new head coach as well, and Jared Nightingale, who has coached with the team before. So a lot of leadership changes in this group. When we talk about leadership with the Blackhawks, one name that will go down in history is Jonathan Toews, and we just got the news yesterday. I don't think it was a surprise to most people that were dialed into that whole saga, but for a lot of fans, I'll tell you, I don't work for WGN like Jack Heinrich here. I don't work for the Chicago Blackhawks. I am not Jonathan Toews myself, and the amount of people that texted me literally a minute after that, oh, did you see this? I'm like, yeah, take a breath. Like, we kind of knew this was coming. Jonathan Toews signing, well, it will be official on July 1st, but poised to sign with his hometown Winnipeg Jets. Jack, your thoughts on the Captain Sirius jumping back into the NHL? And we talked a little bit about this with Charlie Meliodas on the possibility of this back in January. What are your thoughts on Toews' return to the NHL?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think it's good for him. Good to see him back out there after he's taken a few years off. And you're right. It seemed like it was just going to be Winnipeg, and now it's I guess not official, but I think their Twitter account or X account has like 8 or 9 posts about it. So I think it's pretty much official. I think I saw one of a stitching of a jersey, which looked weird. I'm not going to lie, at 19 on a blue jersey, but I mean, I think it's great that he's back in the league, and when we get the schedule release in the next 3 or 4 weeks, that's going to be probably the hottest ticket for the Blackhawks is when he comes back for the first time. But I think it's great. I mean, he's such a great player, and I don't think you could put anything past him. So this return, I mean, he's probably going to be playing on the 3rd or 4th line. His deal has a ton of incentives built in. So I think it's nice that he gets to go home. This is a team that won the President's Trophy last year, so he's going to be competing right away. And it's on a good team, so it's not like he has to immediately be the guy responsible for producing and having a lot of the offensive burden or defensive burden on him. He's going to kind of just slide into that bottom six role and do his thing and get readjusted. And I think a lot of people are happy for him. The Hawks released a thing on Twitter about how the NHL is better with him in it, and we wish him nothing but the best, and I'm excited to welcome back. So it's going to be weird, and I think it shocked a lot of fans, probably the casual hockey fans in Chicago that remember the cup runs and how big of a figure he was. But I think if he was coming back, you could kind of see this is where he was going, and it'll be fun to watch and see how he adapts to coming back after not playing for a few years.
No, 100%. I think a lot of the people out there are not going to like seeing him in blue. Blue is definitely not going to be his color to a lot of the Blackhawks faithful.
It looks good. It looks okay.
Last question here, Jack. We appreciate you joining us again. We did have some breaking news happen while you were speaking, though. The Blackhawks have made a trade. Just want to gather your thoughts real quick. So the Blackhawks are acquiring Andrei Burakovsky from the Seattle Kraken in exchange for Joe Veleno. That happened as of 8 minutes ago. Just quick reaction. Obviously, Burakovsky is going to help that top six forward group that we have here in Chicago. Obviously, not a top of the end guy, maybe not a top line guy, but definitely helps on the depth piece.
Yeah, I actually didn't see that, so thanks for updating me. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, I mean, I think this is just another guy. I mean, they acquired Veleno at the trade deadline. That was a guy that had, a lot of prospect pedigree, and he was going to be a top pick, and then he struggled a little bit, and then he was a later first-round draft pick. So, I mean, Burakovsky, 30 years old. I think they're just trying to find some guys that are solid offensively that can maybe fit in the middle six here. And, I mean, they're looking for forwards. We talked like how they like their defense core and how young it is. So I think they're just trying to find some solid veteran guys. I mean, he had 37 points last year, so nice production there in the middle six. So hopefully he can come in and just provide the Hawks that depth and maybe a little veteran presence. I mean, we saw Ilya Mikheyev last year. He had a pretty strong under-the-radar year, in my opinion, and he was kind of a low-key trade. So seems like another one of those. And Kyle Davidson's done pretty well on some of these low-key trades or acquisitions. You look at Jason Dickinson, they just signed him after he was cut, and Sam Lafferty a few years ago, they ended up packaging him and getting a first-round pick. So it'll be interesting to see how Burakovsky fits with the Hawks, but a little player swap with Joe Veleno, who probably wasn't in the future plans. I think that's a solid plan, just kind of throwing some darts out there on some talent and trying to add them into the forward group.
Yeah, so Jack, look, we spend a lot of time texting and talking about the Chicago Cubs, right? I know we're talking Blackhawks. You and I talk a lot about the Cubs. When is Dansby Swanson going to stop hitting fifth?
I don't know, man. What do we got to do? We got to let's put Nico up there or even Michael Busch. But yesterday was tough. I mean, it's not every time, but it feels like every time I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, he left four guys on. He had like two on, nobody out, and two double plays and back-to-back at-bats. I mean, you know what you're going to get from Dansby. Great defense. I mean, he's probably going to hit like 20 to 25 homers, but they put him eighth, and he was raking, and then they moved him back up, and he got ice cold again. So I think he's better at 7, 8, or 9, and hopefully when the lineup comes out here in it should be an hour or so, he's back down there, and then he can hit a few homers for us, and then we could look dumb.
They can only beat a team over 500.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Jack, as we're sitting here and that trade goes through, Dalton can attest, I already got 3 text messages from friends of mine going, the Blackhawks made a nice trade here with Andrei Burakovsky. And once again, I'm not in your position, so I'm going to have to start directing people to you. And that leads me to, where can people find you, Jack, if they want to hear some of your content?
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. Twitter, Jack Heinrich 22, Instagram, I think it's Jack Heinrich as well. We're doing some stuff over at WGN Radio for the 100th year of Blackhawks hockey, so there's some stuff coming out there. I think we're doing some draft profiles as well, and Charlie's writing a bunch on the website. So over there at WGN radio.com, a bunch of stuff, and I appreciate you guys letting me jump on and talk with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, my guy, for jumping on. Say hi to your brother for me, and tell Charlie to get that batting average up in the softball league.
I will. I'll let him know.
All right, Jack. Thank you so much. That is Jack Heinrich of WGN joining us, talking a little bit of Blackhawks ahead of the draft. So we got his thoughts, of course, on the breaking trade, Andre Burakovsky for Joe Veleno. So the Blackhawks making moves already here in the offseason. But we've got more hockey on the way for you as we have the gentlemen of Chicago Hockey Radio, a very popular podcast here in Blackhawks Nation, coming on right after this. We'll talk about, of course, the upcoming draft. We didn't get a chance to talk about this with Jack, but maybe we'll dive in a little bit of that Ryan Donato signing. Yeah. And then, of course, recap the Stanley Cup final right here on AM 1410 WRMN. Joining us over Zoom, Brandon Combs. On the board, Nick Johnston. And to my left, joining me as always, Dalton Cooper. You're listening to On the Rise.
Hey, Tammy, I just made an AI fact checker for the show. Do you want to try it out?
Sure. Talk Time with Tammy and Friends is the best show on WRMN.
Oh, Talk Time with Tammy and Friends is the best show on WRMN, huh? What a bold, subjective opinion masquerading as a fact. Sure, I bet you and all 12 of her fans feel that way. While I can confirm the show exists, yay for reality, its best status is completely debatable. And yes, congratulations, it does air Monday through Thursday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Let me know when Tammy wins an Emmy or something. Until then, this is a hard nope on objectivity. Grade 310. Fact, Talk Time with Tammy and Friends airs weekdays, Monday, Thursday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on WRMN. Try again when you want to talk about facts, not fangirling.
I'll work on it.
You better.
At Britain's Touchless Car Wash, they know life gets busy. That's why they're here 24/7 to keep your car looking spotless, fast, and easy. Their advanced brush-free wash technology delivers a sparkling clean without a single scratch, because they treat your car like it's their own. Here's the best part. Right now, you can get a free car wash just for joining their text club. It's simple. Just text BRITT to 30400, and your first wash is on them. Britain's Touchless Car Wash has two convenient locations, 1923 Larkin Avenue in Elgin and 555 Willow in West Dundee. They're proud to keep your car clean while giving back to our community. Text BRITT to 30400. That's BRITT to 30400. Now for your free car wash, and see why Britain's Touchless Car Wash is the fast, gentle, and reliable choice.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
A recent Gallup poll indicated that 38% of Americans are putting off health care because of financial concerns, the highest ever recorded. I'm Dr. Bob Martin, here to serve you every Sunday afternoon from 1 to 4. Millions of Americans are seeking health advice that will not cost an arm and a leg, so I offer health tips and advice absolutely free. Listen to my show, Sunday afternoons from 1 to 4 right here on WRMN, AM 1410 and 96.7 FM, the voice of the Valley.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Welcome back to AM 1410 WRMN. You're listening to On the Rise. Myself, Mike Napolitano, with Brandon Combs, Dalton Cooper, and Nick Johnson. We are now joined by two gentlemen who are getting real big here in the Chicago hockey landscape. That would be Tasso Kirkos and Justin Lynch of the Chicago Hockey Radio Podcast. Gentlemen, welcome in. I'm a big fan. I'm so happy you guys could be joining us this morning.
Yeah, it means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate
it. Great to be here. Yeah.
I know there's a lot going on here in the Chicago Blackhawks landscape, but I wanted to start on the national scene first. We just had the Stanley Cup final wrap up. Didn't go, I think, the way many people thought it was going to go. And I don't mean by, the Panthers repeating. I think just, everybody expected this series to go to 7 and there to be some fight in the Edmonton Oilers. What did you guys see towards the end of that series?
Yeah, I just think the Panthers were the better team, right? I think a lot of the narratives sort of support the Oilers. I was definitely pulling for them. I thought it'd be a 7-game series. Felt like it should have ended last night, but unfortunately it was a game early. But yeah, I just think the Panthers just flat out outplayed them and were the better squad. And definitely I think we'll go down as a modern day dynasty when it's all said and done. I think you got to win another one first in at least the next 4 years. But I think the squad isn't going anywhere, and I think they're definitely built to do that. Yeah.
I think it's a couple of things that we all already know. Depth, one versus the other. Yeah. The amount of 20-point scores versus, the amount of guys that didn't show up front for Edmonton. And, obviously, if we're talking Edmonton Oilers here, I don't think you can really do it without the goaltending discussion 100%. Coming up and, having it not be addressed earlier in the season only for it to rear its head here in the final for a second straight year. I don't know if you can do that again, man. I don't know.
Stan Bowen was doing there.
Yeah, great hockey, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the future holds for that Edmonton Oilers team because of the fact that you get there twice and you're so close, but you're the bridesmaid and never the bride. And then you have on the other end of things, you said a possible dynasty coming here with the Florida Panthers, 3 straight Cup finals, 2 wins, both against Edmonton. And I don't think there's really anybody in the East looking forward, despite any offseason moves or drafts picks that can really make a team compete with that Florida squad.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It just feels like the West is more loaded. There's more competition there, whereas the East, it just feels like it's Florida's to lose at the moment. So that's, I kind of look at that, and it doesn't look like they're going to lose a lot, too. I mean, you got to think maybe one of Bennett, Marshy, and Ekblad's probably gone. But otherwise, this is going to be pretty much the same squad, and I just don't know who's going to take them off the mantle. Yeah.
I'm curious for all of you. I asked on the show after the cup clinching game earlier this week, was the story for you all the bigger story that Florida goes back-to-back or that Edmonton is unable to win the Stanley Cup?
Edmonton's lost 4 straight four straight years in the playoffs to the eventual cup winning team. So they did it 22 in Colorado, 23 in Vegas, now back-to-back to Florida. So I think the storyline is always going to be more about Connor McDavid just because he's like the golden child of hockey, which is very, obviously deserved. He's amazing. He's, even Gretzky has said that he's better than himself, which we can argue that till we're blue in the face. But I've told Mike here and some of the guys at the station, I think it's good for hockey when Connor McDavid doesn't win. You kind of get that LeBron James effect to where it's like, okay, now we might get some more attention to hockey because everybody's going to be like, okay, when's this guy finally going to win one, X, Y, and Z. But I think it'd be very interesting to see what kind of deal, if he does re-sign in Edmonton. There's a lot of chatter about that. It may not be an 8-year deal. It may be a 4-year deal. And, he kind of came out in the public and didn't necessarily, say that he wanted to be back at Edmonton. Yeah. He's going to be like, I got to do what's best for myself and my family. So I think just for those reasons, I think automatically it just draws more attention and more of the storyline usually goes to the negative side. I think it's just the human way of doing it, honestly.
I see the LeBron
next take for McDavid. Blank check.
Right.
Yeah, right. I see the LeBron take, but at the same time, he's 9 years into his career and still is chasing a cup. And, the fact that we saw PK Subban talking about it on ESPN, the fact that Edmonton has not been able to successfully put a team around Connor McDavid, because at the end of the day, when you look at that basketball comparison, yes, basketball is a team sport too, but sometimes it is like when you have a LeBron James that can get the job done, you're good, you're fine, right? But in hockey, it's still going to be a team sport regardless. You're still going to have, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid and Darnell Nurse, and, you can go on and on with those names, but at a certain point it comes to, all right, well then who's on defense? What kind of goaltending does Edmonton have? And those are a lot of the questions they need to address now. But over those 9 years, it's just been such a drought, really, for Connor McDavid, despite going to these playoff series and losing to the eventual cup winners. There comes a certain point where, like, I don't know if that's good enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll jump in here with 2 points. One, I've even heard something that the contract that we're looking at for Connor McDavid could be as low as 2 years on a new deal. Yeah. And look, here's the other thing. Everybody at this point now wants to have Connor McDavid on their favorite team. We're seeing like edited photos.
McDavid to Chicago.
McDavid to Chicago.
Toronto, baby.
I did just pull that up literally on Sports Mockery.
Kyle from Chicago, do as well.
Yeah, but then, and then people, the Edmonton fans who, there are some Edmonton fans who are even like, hey, we want him to leave and go chase a championship, which is also a crazy take to have as a fan. But you have to think about it. Connor McDavid on practically any team in the National Hockey League, from the Anaheim Ducks to the San Jose Sharks,
dragging the playoffs.
You're going to be a contender.
Yeah, in the mix at the very least.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even this Blackhawks team, right?
100%.
Oh yeah, no. For McDavid could take pretty much any squad, make him a playoff squad, but there's a difference in being a playoff team and a cup contender, right?
Yeah,
100%.
Right.
Were you guys like me, where you found yourself through 6 games conflicted on whether or not you wanted to see Connor McDavid win a cup, or if you wanted to see Seth Jones lose a cup more?
Definitely McDavid win a cup more.
Boy.
Yeah, like it's funny because I actually probably prefer the Florida squad, but it was for that reason alone. I just really did not want to see them win. With all due respect to Seth Jones, and yeah, I think that McDavid, he's still got more than half his career ahead of him at least. 10 years in, 28 years old, he's in the prime of his career. Yes, losing back-to-back cups is tough, but like I think he's going to get his due. It's a matter of when, not if. But I imagine even for him, like I understand why all the speculation stuff is ramping up on that side of things. Yeah.
And even after they won the cup, I found myself hoping that Seth Jones would trip over a wire.
Oh no!
Natalie is one of their interns there, and she's with you, Brandon. She is like leading the Seth Jones hate club. She is like the president, apparently. So
that's all. I got to get in that club.
They got jackets.
The second she started going off, it was like, that's the clip.
There it is.
I was a Seth Jones defender when he was here in Chicago. I said, you know what? If it wasn't for such a horrendous contract, if it wasn't for such a horrendous contract, and if it wasn't for the fact that the Blackhawks basically bait and switched him, I mean, that guy, he just looked drained of all life and all hope.
Or maybe show some heart and play. Play the damn game. Show up every once in a while, you jerk.
Yeah, when he had a lot on his back carrying that Blackhawks defense, I give it a pass. But when I drew the line was, if you're going to talk about the fans and you're going to talk about the atmosphere here and how the team hasn't changed, and you're going to badmouth everybody on the way out, it wasn't the worst bad-mouthing we've seen in sports by far, but I was like, you know what? You can leave. That's fine. We'll take Spencer Knight. It's okay. But I was not ready for the thank you Blackhawks chants, and then also Brad Marchand posting on his story, thanks Blackhawks. Like that was a gut punch for sure. So
well, thank you Florida for freeing us from Seth Jones and giving us our franchise goaltender. We'll see who's laughing in a few years.
Yeah, we're playing the long game here. I like it. I like it. Speaking of contracts and long game, one thing that we didn't get a chance to talk about with WGN's Jack Heinrich was the Ryan Donato deal that was signed. 4 years, $4 million AAV. Your guys' thoughts? I think that's a pretty fair deal. I don't think he's going to have the same production level. He could surprise people. I don't think he's going to have the same production level that he had this past year. However, I think he has earned this money, and going forward, I think he'll be a valuable enough asset to command that salary.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great contract. The closer we gained to July 1st, I was getting nervous that it wouldn't even get done. And that would have been an absolute failure of asset management to not trade this guy at the deadline and let him walk a free agency for nothing. So the fact that it's only $4 million, I mean, that's not overpaying the slightest. And yeah, like you said, he's probably not going to have another 30-30 season. But through those 4 years, if he could be putting up 20 goals, 20 assists, be around half a point per game, 40 points, I think you'll feel pretty good about that. Yeah.
I think you need NHL players,
yes,
right? Like we just saw, I don't know if you guys have talked about Joe Veleno for Andre Burakovsky.
We just did. Yeah, we broke that with Jack Heinrich. Yeah.
So, you got to have guys in the lineup. You can't just and next year is all about like, okay, what does Rinzel look like full season in the NHL? Yeah. Levchinov, maybe Moore spends the whole year in the NHL, maybe he doesn't. But it's going to be the young guys have the reins, and the vets that are in the lineup are going to need to
be productive. Unlike this past year.
And Burakovsky, those kinds of guys. So maybe Donato doesn't do exactly what he did this season, but maybe he doesn't have to. Maybe he finds another way to carve a role for himself and contribute.
Well, to your point, the adding of depth is crucial if we're going to want to compete into the games where the Blackhawks even want to be to begin with. So just to transition real quick, we have we being the Blackhawks have the 3rd overall pick this year in the draft. From my professional opinion, quote unquote, I don't see them going defenseman. I see them either, taking a bigger forward. There's a couple at the top of the draft, or trading that pick. If you guys were, obviously running the team here, I don't know which one fits your fancy, but where would you like to see the Blackhawks go in what direction?
Well, if I had confidence that we were taking a 3, I'd say keep the pick. I really like Porter Martone, power forward with size. Spoke exactly what this team's missing. James Higgins is undersized, but he's got a ton of talent I think can make up for it. Everything I'm seeing from Blackhawks insiders like Scott Powers, Laz, and the like seem to be leaning towards Anton Frundell, who not quite as sold on compared to those two. So if we're going to be reaching a guy like him or Denoyer, I wouldn't mind trading the pick and getting like an established star player, but you just don't see trades like that very often at the top of the draft. But if there was a year that happened, it does look like this could be the year. Yeah.
And have we ruled out the Blackhawks maybe even moving up in the draft?
Okay.
I'd love to be able to move up a slot or two and maybe be able to draft Michael Meese. I think it's exactly what this team's missing. Or trading down, maybe getting a Paterka level piece. Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah.
That was one of the things we had posed to Jack Heinrich was, do the Blackhawks swap that 3rd overall pick and what kind of would it cost? Just kind of barely scratching the surface of that because, the Misa name was, Michael Misa was the name that everybody was kind of hoping for, especially when it was expected that the Blackhawks would probably take that 2nd overall pick slot. But of course, they fall down to 3, and now it becomes a little bit more of a chaotic scramble to see who they're going to take. You guys had our friend of the show, Charlie Romeliotis, on your show, and he was saying that it was for him between Anton Frundell and Caleb Desnoyers. I like both of those names as well. I don't know if they move the needle as quickly as a Michael Misa does, but is there a possibility that, because James Higgins is an Islander fan growing up, that they go with a guy that wants to play there at number 1, Matthew Schaefer drops to 2, and then maybe Michael Misa falls at 3?
I actually did a mock draft where that was exactly what I had happening, but I think that was more delusion and hope versus actual I've seen like some mocks where the Islanders maybe try to trade, like get a 2nd top pick and get both Schaefer and Higgins. I don't think they take them at 1. I just think that'd be a bit of a mistake. I know he's an Islanders fan and he's got a ton of talent, high ceiling there. I think he's become a little bit underrated actually, because even going into the season, I remember into the past season, he was kind of the projected number 1 pick, dropped a little bit, had a decent year in college, not an insane year, but I'd be surprised if they went that route, but I hope they do.
No doubt. Well, you guys had talked about, taking up veterans taking up spots. I think regardless of who is drafted here for the Blackhawks, they're going to be starting their career, of course, in Rockford. And I think it's very important, and we touched upon this just in the last segment as well, how the Blackhawks have focused on not only coaching and management at the NHL level, but also you have a new coach in Jared Nightingale with the Rockford Ice Hogs. So you have a lot of assets down there, a lot of developing still to go, and new leadership there that is going to help get them there. But one of those assets down there that has been talked about in trade rumors, if the Blackhawks were to make a move here, and we go back to what does it cost, is Kevin Korchinski, and he had a phenomenal season with the Rockford Ice Hogs. Do you guys, and I asked this question to Jack as well, do you guys think that the Blackhawks move up in this draft, given that they have the 25th overall or the 3rd, or do they gamble with next year's pick? Of course, they want to be a more competitive team. They don't want to be picking 1st overall again, but Gavin McKenna is on the board. So do you look at some of your prospect assets in order to make moves as well?
While I don't want to tank another year, I do not think you can give up that first round pick next year. That first, because you have to at least have a chance of it. Kind of, if God forbid this next season, doesn't go the way we want. You want to at least have a mathematical shot at him. So I would not touch that pick. But I do think Korchinski, I would consider him an untouchable, not an untouchable, because you look at Sam Renzel, right? You look at Artie Levshinov, you look at Alex Vlasic. Like, you have 3 stud defensemen you feel pretty good about. I don't put this I would like to be able to keep Korchinski because I see the potential in him, right, and what he can be. But it's like, if there is a young defenseman in the squad, he probably is expendable. It would be him. So if you were to trade up and try to get like a Michael Misa, that's probably what it would cost if it was a trade with the Sharks, for example. Let's say Schaefer goes to the Islanders. We know the Sharks really want that guy, so they're going to want some sort of young prospect defenseman who's got a high floor there, or high ceiling. So not a sure thing, but again, still can't pass up the potential. But he probably would be involved in some sort of mock trade, which sucks. But you kind of got to make sacrifices in this league, right?
Right. Yeah. Well. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, who can you get? Like, what's available? Are there players out there? Is Matt Barzal available? Can you trade? Third overall.
Betsy's a big fan of his.
Korchinski for Matt Barzal. Is Brady Tkachuk available? Probably
that would take a lot. Would take a lot.
Yeah, it might. But Svechnikov too. Like, who are some star players out there that Jason Robertson that you're able to get that are potential needle movers? And like I said, like Justin said, you can't get rid.
And we saw the Blue Jackets move Jiricek at the deadline last year for a first from Minnesota. So like the value of a prospect defenseman like that, asking for a first round pick is nothing out of the wilderness of like crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think explore all options there for sure. Not all these prospects. There's not even enough room for all these guys, right? So I think if the guys you feel confident about that will slide NHL roles, right, make them a part of this thing. But for those you don't feel as good about, ship them while their value is high, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you guys. Speaking of superstars, right? Like, we've spent most of this summer. Weird to call it a summer because we just had like our first 90-degree day yesterday. But we spent most of the summer watching the rise of a superstar on the north side of town, right, in PCA. And we've spent 2 years watching a guy in Connor Bedard not really have that moment yet. Are we getting to a point where we might have to start thinking that maybe the Blackhawks missed on Connor Bedard? Maybe Connor Bedard's not quite the superstar that he was touted to be coming out of the draft?
No, I'm not fazed by that. I think, if anything, like I'll agree. Like, I do think last season was a little disappointing. I'd be lying if I claimed otherwise. But man, like, this guy came in as a teenager and had one of the most impressive rookie seasons in recent memory. I think it's easy to forget that. Very similar to like the season that Celebrini had. Sophomore slumps aren't super uncommon. Even we call it a slump. I mean, his point production stuff was still pretty similar. Albeit points per game was a little less because he played 82, didn't have an injury this year. So yeah, I do think he needs to have a better year next year to answer your question. I think that needs to be a better season, at least a point per game. But I'm not too worried about it. I think with where this roster's at right now, I mean, second to last in NHL these first 2 years, there aren't many teenagers in a situation who come into a worse situation with a team around them. So I think as the team gets better, right, I mean, his production will rise. And if it doesn't, then I think you could start asking questions. But I'm not worried about Bedard. Yeah.
So with the $25 million that they have in cap space and the amount of cap space that they have, what do they need to put around Bedard in order for him to have that breakout season, in order for him to get fans excited again? What does he need around him that he doesn't have currently?
Mitch Marner.
I don't know about that.
Boy, promise you're gonna have to pay him how much?
Probably 16.
Yeah, 14, 15 million for 8 years, and that guy come playoff time. So yeah, that's a balance you have to be able to strike there. Fine line you have to balance. So we do have a lot of cap space this summer. Do you save it though? Because next off season there's some pretty good players that might be available there. So even better than this year. So that might be something you might just have to go through another year and just see what we have. But it might not be a this year problem to solve, but I do think down the line, and I think especially though as these young kids come in too, right? I think a first full year of a guy like a Frank Nazar having a breakout season, if you pair those two together consistently, like you see in San Jose with Celebrini and Will Smith, I think that could be a good connection for this upcoming year. Yeah,
Tasso, I agreed with your take when you had it on the podcast that if you have to pay Mitch Marner that outrageous amount of money, yes, the cap is going up, right? But if you have to pay him that high of a contract, and then you look over at a team in your same division in the Dallas Stars who are paying Mikko Rantanen less to do more come playoff time, it looks like a really bad deal. So I understand that guys like Mitch Marner only hit free agency so often, but I would rather take my chances with what the Blackhawks have here and build around Connor Bedard, maybe get that superstar if he's on the table, but build depth-wise and really focus on your development of guys like Frank Nazar and, of course, your defensive core. And I think Jeff Blashill, I was listening to the CHGO podcast, and I thought they broke it down really well, is that Jeff Blashill can be that guy, given that he has been not only a head coach, but an assistant coach behind John Cooper and trained and learned alongside guys like, Steven Stamkos and Nikita Kucherov to how to get to that superstar level. And I think we definitely do see a breakout season here for Connor Bedard. I don't know if he'll be donning the C anytime soon, but when we talk about captains for the Blackhawks, we had some news just yesterday that broke that Jonathan Toews signs or is planning to sign with the Winnipeg Jets come the free agency period. This is a Bufflin. I'm not jumping any bandwagon just yet, but your guys' thoughts on Toews going to his hometown and of course rejoining the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, we knew it wasn't going to be back with Chicago. So in terms of alternate options, I'd say Winnipeg is probably right at the top of the list. Right, his hometown, like you said, and I think he should assimilate well there. So just happy to see him back. Like I always there's been a lot of talk around this the past year or so. I was a little skeptical if it would actually happen. So just the fact that he's going to be back in the NHL playing, I'm really psyched up for it. If he even half resembles himself, I'll be happy to see him back. So I think it's the right location for him, and I wish him all the best. But it will be tough to watch both Toews and Kane not playing in the Blackhawks uni, but that's the way it is.
I'm going to take a zag to this. What is Winnipeg doing? Like, what
you think it's a bad move?
I think this is a little desperate for the Winnipeg Jets.
Ooh,
look at depending the base salary for Jonathan Toews being $2 million at a place where you can't do it. He's going to hit these bonuses. Either he's going to hit them, or he's very much not, right?
Isn't like $5 million in bonuses that could potentially?
But they're one of them, it's like after 20 regular season games, after 30, after 10, 40, after 50, after 60, right? Like those are all going to come really quick. So Jonathan Toews goes from being a $2 million player to a $5.5 million player really quick.
That's $7 million to win the Stanley Cup.
If the Winnipeg Jets win the Stanley Cup, he's a $7.5 million player, which is fine. If
anyway.
Cup, if you win the Stanley Cup. If you win the Stanley Cup, obviously it doesn't really matter. But, Jonathan Toews, even if they do win the Stanley Cup, is going to be a $7.5 million player is absurd to me. It is.
I know he's been away from the game for two. Yeah, I mean, not $7.5 million, but I know he's been away for years. But, I mean, he claims he's back to full health. I guess that India spiritual journey there really helped him out there. So, it might be a little rusty. But look at Gabe Landeskog, man. He was away from the game for 3 years, and he certainly looked himself in the playoffs. So, we'll see. I mean, I'm not expecting prime Jonathan Toews here, but, if he could still be effective in face-offs, power play, penalty kill, versatile, play him anywhere in the lineup, I think he could still be damn effective. Yeah.
You guys said it was going to be hard to watch Kane and Toews both not being a Blackhawks jersey. Now, this is going to shape my opinion of you guys really quickly. Who is it harder to watch not in a Blackhawks uniform, Kane or Toews?
Who's it hard? Well, Toews haven't seen it yet, so but I'd say that's tough. I mean, I'd say it goes both ways. I mean, Toews, your captain to see. Kane, I was more mad about because I feel like maybe there was even an article where it's like he seemed like he was willing to stick around here. So whereas Toews seemed like he's more checked out towards the end of the rebuild. So I guess to answer your question, I'd probably lean towards. I mean, it's both of them, but I'd probably lean towards Kane there. Yeah.
I agree. Patrick Kane is devastating to me. Like I was always a Patrick Kane over Jonathan Toews guy. I was okay when they started talking about trading. I was like, if they could trade Toews, I'll be fine with it. But if they trade Kane, I'm gonna riot. So
and for him to go to another original 6 team too, that's tough.
I don't dislike the Rangers that badly, but then when it was a Red Wings sweater, I was like, it looks good. It looks clean, but it looks so bad at the same time.
No, it doesn't. You shut your mouth.
And then of course a Winnipeg jersey. I know they're in the same division, but like I don't have any animosity towards Winnipeg. So for the captain to go home and be donning these colors, it actually doesn't look too bad in blue. I know we were talking about that earlier. I don't think it looks awful. So. Or too out of place, I should say. The Kane stuff, when it was Rangers and it was red, white, and blue, it was like, okay, you've already seen him in USA.
Yeah.
But then when you go to the Red Wings, puke. Terrible. But, I mean, this will be an interesting season to see both Kane and Toews maybe even, of course, when they face off against each other, that'll be pretty cool in and of itself. But gentlemen, thank you again for jumping on. Big fan of the podcast and of course B-Hawks memes. Every time,
thank you.
Every time I'm at the game, I swear it's like clockwork. Ilya Mikheyev scores, and I just reference the meme. So I'm right there with you. So let's hope we get another whole season of that. Where can fans find you guys?
At Chicago Hockey Radio on Instagram, at Chicago Hockey Radio on YouTube. Please subscribe. Please follow us.
Yeah, Spotify, Apple, everywhere you get podcasts. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you, guys. We'll be talking with you soon, especially as the season gets ready to go come fall, and it's going to be here before we know it, but of course, draft and off season. So thanks once again for jumping on. This has been AM 1410 WRMN's On the Rise. Myself, Mike Napolitano, with my co-hosts Dalton Cooper, Brandon Combs, and Nick Johnson on the board. Tassos and Justin, thank you again for jumping in from Chicago Hockey Radio. We will see you guys, next week.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Yeah, have a good one.
Is diabetes keeping you from enjoying life's special moments? At US Med, we understand the challenges you face, and we're here to help.
With US Med, I can finally manage my diabetes without it managing me.
US Med offers a wide range of services